Working on the core is amazingly important. It'll give you a stronger yoga practice. It'll make you more balanced in your day to day. And maybe most importantly, for so many of us, it'll reduce back pain. A huge percentage of people have back pain. Core work will help negate some of that. So we're going to get started on our backs to really start tapping into our core. And I should say, core work doesn't have to be daunting, and this most certainly won't be. So we want to take just a few moments to settle in. I'm going to keep my knees bent so I can start relaxing my entirety of my back to the mat. You might choose to take your legs out, Savasana style, and that's okay. You're listening to your body. What we do want to do here, and I love starting a yoga practice lying down, is just feel where our body connects to the mat. You hear yoga teachers say ground or center yourself. And one of the simplest, easiest ways to ground is to literally feel the sensation of the body on the ground, whether it's just your feet or the length of the body as we are now. When you start noticing your connected points, you're suddenly pulled into the present, into those connections, and out of your thoughts. So just notice where the shoulders, the back of the head, and the back touch the mat. You know, the secret to being present is finding those focus points when we're not letting our thoughts or our feelings get away from us. We take the edge off of them, and it can be a little bit easier to move around them or to see them from a different perspective. So now that we've built up those connections, if your knees weren't already bent, go ahead and plant them. And we're just going to take some windshield wipers. I like to make mine a little wider than hip distance. Just get a good rotation going in the hips. Now that we're nice and loosened up in our backs and our base, we'll plant our feet. So core exercise number 1, really simple. Fill with breath and notice the way your belly expands. Then as you exhale, pull your belly button to your spine. We are engaging our core through an exhale. This is core work, all right? Notice the way your back presses against the mat. You might even feel some of those nice, strong, deep muscles. So inhales, let them lift up, expand the belly. Exhales, we think about pulling belly button in. You might even almost feel like you're broadening out in your core. Really strong. Inhales and exhales. All right, there's our 3 count. We'll come back to neutral. Let's take just a few more windshield wipers so we know we're not holding. Feet plant. We'll give our knees a little hug into our chest. We'll sort of rock things out, massaging our lower back. This is my buddy Oscar here, by the way. All right, so nice big squeeze. Knees drop over to the right, but we're not going to set them down. I'm going to open my arms out for a little leverage. So you're using your core. You're going to inhale your knees back up. Exhale them to the left, but don't set them down. We're exhaling on exertion, so we're contracting our core just like when we were laying down. We pick them back up. We lower without setting them down. We're just looking for strong, stable core. And you might notice you're getting a little rinse in your back at the same time. Then we'll pick back up. So the next time you find yourself on the right, that's our 3 count. We're going to hold. And then we'll set our knees down and take a twist. I'm a huge fan of twists. They open up the back, and they are sneaky core work. as we are opening up the back, we can't help but contract our core. Some of my yoga students come to me and say they want to work on core, and believe me, people do want to work on core. I like to throw in a lot of twists, make it sneaky. Core work can be enjoyable. All right, legs come up. We're using all that good strength. We're taking them off to the left nice and slow because we want to give our backs time to adjust. We hold, we find that strength, we feel belly button pull in, and then we set things down and just rinse out our spines. And then we'll bring our legs in. We'll give ourselves a little hug, a little rock out. All right, keep your right knee in, extend your left leg dong, but don't set it down. So get kind of our little psoas squeeze here, and then we're gonna switch it out. So we're using our strong core. Getting our little psoas release at the same time. We'll switch it out one more each side. Oh, sorry, buddy. And then we'll bring it back, knees tucking in. So one real exercise, kind of pulling more from Pilates here, but take your feet all the way up to the sky like you're gonna take the legs up the wall. Knees are soft. We're gonna lower our toes about 30 degrees. You're gonna feel your belly sort of naturally pull in like we did in that breathing exercise. So nice big hold, exhale, find it, inhale, fill, exhale, lower another 30 degrees. Stay for the breath. Make those adjustments so that the core is strong. We want to really kind of exhale, pull belly button to spine so our core doesn't cone up. One more. That's how we know we're using those nice deep muscles. So you're hovering about 2 inches off the mat, and we'll take our knees into our chest. Take some circles to rinse out our backs. One more time. Toes up to the sky. We lower about 30 degrees. You're going to start to feel it. You're probably in a pretty good place to engage, to flatten out the core. Sometimes when we're holding or squeezing, we make this kind of cone shape, and that's not what we want. That's not using the muscles that we want. We want to go deep. We lower another 30 degrees, and again, we pause to really connect that same sort of sensation of pressing our back to the mat. Our core is so flexed. We lower it to about 2 inches off the mat with the feet. You might hear the shake in my voice. We'll take knees to our chest, squeeze it out, rinse it out. All right, catch the backs of your legs. We are going to rock along the length of our spine. And yes, we are gaining momentum to come up. So last one, land on the sit bones, feet out in front. Ooh, how's your core feeling? I know mine has some heat. Let's give ourselves a little rest here. Take our nice big windshield wipers. Extend your legs long. I'm gonna pull from my yin practice a little bit since we're not totally warmed up. So your sit bones are connected. Here's our dandasana or staff pose, a nice lifted spine. And we're gonna hinge right from our waistline over our legs. This is gonna get space in the lower back and space in our hamstrings. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, hinge so the lower back is spacious. I say pulling from yin because we're not warmed up, so we're not going into our deepest pose. When you take this seated in a yoga class, towards the end, you might feel yourself going really far. Here, not warmed up, we might find ourselves just hinging. We find a new challenge point. Get comfortable here. Breathe through it. Inhale, feel your spine lengthen. Exhale, feel comfortable letting your body soften. Inhale, float up. Bend into your knees. Our windshield wipers, just one of the best transitions. They rinse away the pose. They reset our bodies. All right. So feet plant like we are setting up a boat pose. Knees are bent. You really want your sit bones good and anchored. And we're gonna catch the backs of our legs, lower our chest about 45 degrees. Now it's very tempting to use the hip flexors, and you probably will a little bit. It does strengthen them up. But look for that firm core. Belly button pulls in deep. We are using the strength of our core to hold us up. And we're just gonna lift up our hands. No full boat right now. We're gonna hold. How does it feel? One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is come into poses, any poses, not just core, too fast, too quick, and they don't lay the right foundation. They go right into using their hip flexors. They're never gonna build up the foundation here in the core where the pose is meant to be. Inhale, come up. Some nice big windshield wipers. Let's take a break. Cross our legs, sit up tall, left hand to the right knee, right hand behind. This is where you might really feel what I'm talking about with the twist. The core sort of naturally engages as you rinse from your spine. It's gonna release you along your back. Chin looks over shoulder as much as it feels good for your neck. And then we'll come forward, rinse out through our shoulders. And do the same, right hand to the left knee, left hand behind. We're lifted up tall, sitting up tall on our spine, firming up here, so we're maximizing the release in our backs. We're saying, hey, I'm stable in front, so everything in the back can relax across the spine or up and down the spine. Look over the shoulder as much as it feels good for your neck. And come forward, plant your knees, or bend your knees, plant your feet, roll through your shoulders, make sure they're in a good place. Let's check in with that Navasana prep pose, that boat prep. Feet planted, knees bent, catching the backs of the legs, lowering with control, so you're lowering with core strength. Hip flexors, yeah, they're working a little bit, but we know that we're mostly here in our core. We're not going up too fast, we're building it up organically. We lift our arms before we lift our legs. So sort of pulling from bar, one of my favorite things we do in bar yoga. You're here, you're contracted. You try and find a flex within a flex and almost come up just a few degrees, reaching your arms forward. So flex within a flex, squeezing your core more than you even thought possible. Doing it on an exhale, so you're really pulling in, inhaling back. Last couple. All right, last one. We'll bring it to neutral. We'll rinse things out. How are your backs? How are your cores feeling? Let's go ahead, flip onto our hands and our knees from here. Find our table, take some cats and cows. Our cores have been working hard. So inhaling and lifting might feel really good for the front body. And then exhaling and arcing, we can explore all that space we've been making in our lower backs. Remember, we're connecting breath to movement. The inhales are lifting us. The exhales are arcing and providing all that wonderful space. Good opportunity to slow the breath so you get those great stretches. We'll do one more of each. And then to neutral we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn so we're facing the lengthwise side of our mat. Left hand, left knee are going to stay anchored. Right foot's going to come out. Your right toes could face forward. They could go all the way to 3 o'clock or somewhere in between. It's going to depend on your knee and your ankle. But you're pressing into the pinky edge of your foot the best you can. Left shoulder, the more it's stacked over wrist, probably the safer it's going to feel. As we start to pull back and put more pressure on the heel of our hand, it might hurt the wrist. So be very mindful that you want, thumb, index, the pinky edge of the palm grounded into the mat. We're going to inhale our hands up, reach right side. So now we're working on the side body of our core. Core muscles are neat. They wrap around. So it's so deeply connected to the back. They go deep. So now we're getting a nice stretch. And if you want to find some strength here in the side body, pick up your arm, stack wrist over shoulder, float your foot. Modified side plank. Set it down if you need to. Take a break. Again, the thing I'll always tell you to do, slow down, build up the strength organically. Don't go into the pose wrong and expect that the strength will build and you'll learn how to do it right. Little baby steps. Build up the strength piece by piece. Someday and one day, that bottom left leg might come out and you might find yourself in a true side plank. But again, if your hips are dipping, your seat's kind of falling back, modify. You're going to build up that strength with time, I promise. Inhale, come on up. Reach down to the right leg, reach left hand overhead. Inhale, come up. We come back down. We're going to pull through a table. We're going to rinse it out with our cats and our cows. And we're going to do the same thing to the right. So right knee, right hand planted. And I'm going to turn around so you can see me. But right hand grounded. We're not pressing into the heel of our hand. We're kind of spreading out so that our wrist isn't carrying too much weight. The best stack we can get. Again, doesn't matter where the toes are turned exactly, as long as your left knee or left ankle feels safe. We're going to reach. We're going to stretch our side body. Then we're going to inhale our left hand up, get wrist stacked over shoulder. We're going to explore floating the foot. You might stay in your hold and float. You might set your foot down and pick it back up. Find that modified side plank that's building up the strength in our sides. Holding, but never afraid to come back down. Again, reset. Holding the pose with integrity, so much better than getting into it wrong. Then someday, one day, the right leg might extend and you might find a half plank, or a side plank. You might even try it on now. You certainly don't have to. We'll set the knee down. We'll inhale on up to our little half knee stand, hands overhead. Left hand comes down the leg, right hand reaches. It's great to build up the strength, but we want to stretch it out too. Inhale, come on up. Set the knee down, turn back into your table. For good measure, let's take some cats and cows. We'll bring it to neutral, give our toes a curl under, our seat a lift, and for the very first time, we're finding downward facing dog. Good thing we open up the hamstrings a little, right? So take some pedals, shake out your head, get spacious in the spine, ground into your hands. One of my new favorite little core exercises, and it's good for the pelvic floor too. We drop our knees to the mat to a hover. It's almost like we're coming back to table. And we pick our seat back up to downward facing dog. Some nice pedals. We lower our knees down. Shoulders over wrists like we're taking a table, but we're hovering our knees. We're feeling that squeeze low in the core. Again, pelvic floor area. Come back up. Pedal it out. Last round. Little hover. We'll bring the knees up. Take our downward facing dog. Set our knees to the mat. Uncurl our toes. We're going to walk our knees back. Head to our bellies. We've been working the front of our core and the sides of our core. Let's tap into the back. So arms by the side, chin or forehead down. You're going to exhale all the air out of your lungs. Inhale, come up. Just halfway, drawing shoulder blades together, grounding the tops of your feet against the mat. You feel your back working hard. Exhale, lower. Bring your hands forward. Stack up your hands. Rest your forehead. Bend into your knees. Windshield wiper a little space into your lower back. Keep your head down on your hands. Exhale completely. Inhale, lift up just the legs. The seat might be working a little bit too, but drawing back, little squeeze of the heels together. Inhaling, legs up. Really strong exhales give you length in the spine. Inhales lift you. Let's set our knees down. Keep the bend. Windshield wiper for space in the back. So let's do that sequence one more time. Anchor the tops of the feet connected to the mat. Arms behind. Chin or forehead down. Doesn't matter which. We exhale out the lungs completely. Inhale, lift up our chest. No help from the hands. Feet are anchored. Our backs are strong. Our shoulder blades are drawing together. We've got this. Exhales give us a little length, a little release. Inhales bring us up higher. Take our hands in front. Stack them up. Bend into knees. Windshield wiper space into your back. Legs are long. Head stays anchored. We exhale completely. On the inhale, we lift up. Kind of squeezing our heels together, finding a really strong back. Exhales provide length in the spine. Inhales lift us up. Let's lower our knees. Bend them. Windshield wiper. Release your feet. Take your palms under your shoulders. Come up to a tabletop. Take a moment here. We've been working hard in the back, arcing it. So we want our spine nice and neutral. And then the next time you exhale, roll a little cat arc. Inhale to neutral. Exhale to arc. Last one. Then we're going to have a seat into our child's pose. I'm going to change things up. We're actually going to end our class in a child's pose. A little bit different than the traditional Savasana, which is actually where we started. So you might sit back on your heels, and that might get you really spacious in your lower back. That might not be accessible for all bodies, or you might just be more comfortable widening your knees, mat distance apart, dropping the torso between. But let your spine get spacious here in this child's pose. Open back. We gently compress our core here. We have all these wonderful anchored points to our mat. Things to focus our attention on, where the hands and the arms, the forehead touch, where our body supports itself. present in those connections. Allow them to bring you into the present moment through a safe body so that it feels comfortable relaxing into this child's pose. We certainly have the back space for it. Inhale, fill up deeply, creating space in your shoulder blades. And exhale, settle into yourself just a little bit more deeply, releasing completely. You can gently rock your head side to side, massaging out your third eye. You could press your palms together overhead. Just making connections with your body, getting comfortable exploring it, and putting the focus on it so that you are present through your body. Really feel the breath in the back, expansive, almost providing a stretch between your shoulder blades. Next inhale will bring us up to our tabletop. We'll swing onto our seat. And I will say, as always, thank you for sharing your time and your practice with me.